Welcome to Echoes of Empire, where we bring the forgotten stories of Britain's past back to life. Imagine a world without cars, airplanes, or telephones. A world where streets were lit by flickering gas lamps, where letters took weeks to travel across continents, and where kings and queens still ruled with crowns of gold. Now, imagine a young girl, barely 18 years old, suddenly awakened at dawn to be told, "You are now the queen of the mightiest empire the world has ever seen." This is the untold story of Queen Victoria, a story not of dusty portraits and lifeless history, but of a girl who became an empress, of love and loss, of power and betrayal, of a crown that shone bright but weighed heavy. For behind the polished image of the Victorian era lies a tale of secrets, shadows and sacrifices that changed the course of history forever. So, stay with me, because the crown of Victoria was not just a symbol of glory, it was also a burden of unimaginable pain. It is the early morning of June 20th, 1837. Kensington Palace lies in eerie silence. The corridors are cold, the walls damp with the shadows of night. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echo across the marble floors. Courtiers gather, faces pale. The king, William IV, is dead. In a chamber lit by a single candle, an aide knocks softly on the door of a teenage girl. She rises from her bed, confused, her hair uncombed, eyes half dreaming. She is handed a message. With trembling fingers, she breaks the seal. The words are simple, but world-shattering. "Your Majesty, Victoria, just 18 years old, has become the Queen of Britain. Imagine the moment." A teenager, barely out of childhood, suddenly crowned ruler of an empire stretching from the icy lands of Canada to the burning heat of India. Millions of lives, hundreds of ships, armies, palaces, ministers, all now under her command. Do you think she was ready? Would you have been? Victoria herself later wrote, "I was awoke at 6 o'clock by Mama, who told me that the Archbishop of Canterbury and Lord Conyngham were here and wished to see me. I went into my sitting room, where I was received by them. Lord Conyngham then acquainted me that my poor uncle, the king, was no more, and had expired this morning at 12 minutes past 2, and consequently that I am queen. No coronation yet. No crown upon her head, just a young girl in her nightgown, realizing that she now carries the weight of the world. But Victoria was not a typical teenager. Her childhood had been harsh, almost prison-like. She grew up under the strict Kensington system, a suffocating set of rules designed to keep her isolated, obedient, and entirely under her mother's control. She was never allowed to walk downstairs without holding someone's hand. She could not sleep without her mother in the room. She was trained not to trust, not to act freely. Perhaps it was this very isolation that forged her iron will. For when that crown was placed upon her head, Victoria vowed to rule with her own mind, not as her mother's puppet. In her first meeting with the Privy Council, the room full of elderly men expected a shy, timid girl. Instead, they saw a queen. One of them later recalled, "Her manner was modest, but graceful. She appeared to listen with attention to all that was said to her, and to give an answer with accuracy and discretion." From that moment, Victoria was no longer just a young girl. She was a monarch in the making, but the question remained, could she survive the wolves of politics? Could she turn from a fragile figure into the embodiment of an empire? The stage was set. The young queen stood at the edge of history, and Britain, indeed the whole world, watched to see what would happen next. Under her crown, the British Empire expanded like never before. Railways roared across the land, steamships carried goods to every corner of the globe, and colonies painted the world map in red. Britain became the workshop of the world, a place where industry, invention, and imperial ambition marched hand in hand. But power always comes at a cost. As wealth flowed into Britain, exploitation and conquest left scars far beyond its shores. Did the people of India, Africa, and Asia see Victoria as a motherly empress, or as the symbol of oppression? The answer lies in the shadows of history. Behind the grandeur of Buckingham Palace lay whispers of scandals, betrayals, and political battles. Ministers schemed, rivals waited for her downfall, and enemies tested her resolve. Victoria herself battled insecurities, Was she truly strong enough to command an empire of millions? Her letters reveal moments of doubt, of fear, of rage. The public never saw the cracks behind the polished crown, but the crown was heavy and its weight unforgiving. And then came Prince Albert. He was not just her husband, but her confidant, her partner in ruling the empire. Together, they became the symbol of Victorian strength and stability. But fate is cruel. In 1861, Albert died suddenly. Victoria's world collapsed. Draped in black, she withdrew from public life, mourning him for decades. For the people, she became the Widow of Windsor. For Victoria, she was simply a broken woman holding on to memories of love lost too soon. This was also the age of marvels: telegraphs, electricity, photography. The modern world was being born before Victoria's eyes. Britain's cities glowed with new inventions, yet in the shadows, poverty, child labor, and inequality plagued society. It was an age of contradiction. The richest empire the world had ever seen, built on the suffering of millions. Was this glory, or was it guilt hidden under golden crowns? At first they adored her, the young queen with a radiant smile. Then, after Albert's death, they questioned her absence, her silence, her retreat. Crowds grew restless. Critics sharpened their pens, but Victoria was not finished. She returned, stronger, and reclaimed her image as the matriarch of the empire. By the time of her golden and diamond jubilees, millions cheered her name. To them, she was not just a queen, she was Britain itself. As the 20th century dawned, Victoria's health weakened. She had seen empires rise, revolutions erupt, and nations bow before Britain's might. But she had also seen war, famine, and rebellion. In 1901, the queen who had reigned for more than 6 decades took her final breath. An age ended. The Victorian era, an era of conquest, contradictions, and colossal change, was over. But her legacy lived on, in the railways, the factories, the colonies, and in the very identity of Britain itself. This was Echoes of Empire. Subscribe for more untold stories from the heart of Britain's history.